Hey, what's going on, friends and family? My name is Skylent, and today we're going to be trying to ask and answer the question if Crimson Desert is going to be worth playing next year, 2020. We got a few months before we probably even see anything more about the game. It was just revealed, but it looks like what I can say is it seems that they're going to be promoting this game and publishing it nearly identically, like at the same exact time as around the world. I mean, that would be fantastic. I think it makes sense though that maybe the alpha servers would be open to Korea first, but it would be really great if, they just as fast as possible got it to the whole world. That's one thing that really turned me off about a lot of these games, such as Lost Ark, or even when Black Desert was coming out. Oh, you guys remember Blade and Soul? A lot of those games, I think the hype kind of waned, and they kind of had to play catch up with the rest of the world. And it's really hard for people like me, who I'm adamant about not playing on foreign servers, because I'm reviewing an online game, and if I can't play with low ping and play how it's really meant to be played, then I can't really review it. And also, I totally criticize people who do review games when they play around the world with a tremendous amount of lag, and then they say, well, there's not really lag and things. I just can't trust you. Anyways, so I'm going to be playing this game as soon as possible, because one, it looks great. If you guys didn't just watch the trailer raw, you probably should actually. Don't watch anybody else's reaction. Just watch the trailer because it's legitimately very good. Hopefully you're coming from watching the trailer. So yeah. Anyways, it looks really good. And let's talk about the direction the game's going to go in, because it's kind of peculiar, but actually there's kind of precedent for it. So let's do it. Okay. So recently I did a very fun list where I did a list video talking about the best single player MMO games. And I made that list because I thought it's kind of fun. It's like inverse, reverse. It doesn't make sense, right? But actually, at least in terms of Star Wars, The Old Republic, you also have a little bit Elder Scrolls Online as kind of a little bit of a single player-ish feel. Final Fantasy XIV as well, but specifically definitely Guild Wars and the Star Wars, The Old Republic has specifically a single player campaign built parallel and alongside the MMO portion of the game. That's weird, right? And you wonder why would games do that? Why would I don't know. I guess basically it just comes down to trying to appeal to different players and giving players options of an experience. Sometimes you do want to have this RPG progression and kind of dip in and out of the variety of online components. If that's the PvP, the PvE, the giant boss fights, the dungeons, MMOs generally have a wealth of content and experiences and ways to play. So, it's starting to make sense to me that MMOs are also tacking on just entirely single player moments or entire campaigns. I'm saying that here because if you don't know, if you can't tell from the trailer, Crimson Desert appears to be a single player MMORPG, as in it's going to be a game that, they're releasing this trailer first. So maybe it's almost, this is the focus, is that it is first and foremost a single player driven game, which I don't know if it's going to be open world or not, but it seems incredibly narratively driven, getting Witcher vibes, maybe, and definitely Game of Thrones. Jon Snow is like the main character. I don't know, but the voice acting was really good. The scenes that they showed, the monsters, everything about this, obviously a little bit of, it's kind of like reusing the engine of Black Desert. This is actually a prequel to Black Desert, and it's going to have some creatures. It's going to be set in the world. I don't know what that entails to Black Desert. Maybe that's going to expand the lore like that. Who knows? But it's going to be probably a game that they can make rather easily in terms of the MMO portion, but the single player, that's something that we haven't really seen from them. Funny enough, though, I actually put Black Desert Online as one of those best games that are single player. See, even though Black Desert Online has the cringiest quest system on the planet, its conversation system, some of the dialogue, some of the deeper lore, if you dive deep into it, it's pretty good. And also like the trading and the empire system. And there's like a lot of mechanics in this game that are totally actually almost absent from the actual player interaction in an MMO portion. It's really weird because it's a sandbox MMO with like no linear questing properly. There is like a tutorial quest from 1 to 50, but it's like, it's really cringy, right? So coming into this, I expected this to be a cringe fest, but actually this trailer looked really good. And so I feel like, they probably almost wanted to make Black Desert Online a kind of single player experience. And there's been a number of times where I've done videos where like, if Black Desert was tooled and balanced a little bit differently, and it was just a co-op or even single player game, it would probably be along the likes of something like maybe like Path of Exile or Diablo, like that sort of grinder, looter, action RPG with a little bit of lore and story. I think it could have fit into that very well. And I think this game is actually going to go even a step up. Now, it might be a grinder action RPG, but at least the cutscenes and at least the story is definitely going to be above the quality of the usual MMO because they're separating it, portioning it into that single player portion. But now, let's talk about the actual MMO because it is being promoted as an MMO. That is basically, it says it's going to be a PvP 3-faction, game. We already talked about this whenever I did my expectations videos, my pre-impressions, when I just literally heard the announcement of it. We were able to read kind of what the game was going to be about. We didn't know it was going to be so heavily focused on single player, but it looks like it's going to be single player and then it's going to be just PvP. So we're kind of cutting out like, dungeons or raids or anything like that. Don't expect anything like the Western familiarity. It's going to just be, okay, you want a PvP? We got PvP. And if you want to do like, the sort of PvE, it is a single player experience. Maybe it's going to be Soulsian. We don't actually know what the true combat system is going to be like. But since it is a prequel and set in the world of Black Desert, it's probably going to be identical, if not like very, 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 very similar. Though the main character and the archetypes that we play in during the single player, it seems won't be as ridiculously bombastic moving forward because there is actually a set character. So my expectations for this, I bet it wouldn't be too far to say maybe that this might be Souls-like, possibly. It could be a very linear, it could be a very small experience. Maybe they'll expand it later on, but I don't know. Having two totally different forms of gameplay is very, very strange. But hopefully, what I'm expecting is because in Black Desert, our characters are really overpowered. You can start the game and maybe you don't feel that immediately, though you should if you played any other MMO. Like you're just bonkers from the get-go. But you definitely get really, really, really freaking overpowered as you play through the game. You're just killing armies of monsters, very wuxia and very, very warriors styled. But it would be cool if Crimson Desert, being a prequel, maybe things could be more down to earth. Maybe like half the speed, maybe like half the abilities and combos, and maybe have a little bit more nuance with those abilities. Maybe more assassination oriented. Maybe more stealthy, maybe more ninja, more range. We actually see guns being used in the trailer. There's a lot of stuff that I would like that maybe makes everything feel a little bit more, I want to use the word immortal. I want things to feel a little bit less Dragon Ball Z. That would be really cool, at least in this particular game, especially because it's immediately set in a tribal, they said tribes, I believe. So there's 3 different tribes. So not exactly kingdoms. I don't know if that's like a translation thing, but yeah, 3 tribes that are going to be fighting together. It's going to be war. It's going to be guilds and guilds and guilds. And I think with all that content, with all that gameplay that's just so immediately thrown at you, it's not little skirmishes. It's not like a guild versus a guild. It's going to be basically planet side. It's going to be Dark Age of Camelot. It's going to be Guild Wars and Elder Scrolls Online as well. And if the more fantastic and the more ridiculous the abilities are, especially in Guild Wars 2, they had to have a whole patch where they reduced the effects actually because of this. It gets really hard to play those games, but the more down to earth, which is probably going to be something more like PlanetSide, where it's just simple guns, you don't have giant fireballs everywhere, though you do have vehicles. It would be really cool in a game like this if it was more down to earth, a little less magical. Of course, I'm not saying go full low fantasy, but that is actually the vibe that the trailer is giving. I mean, we got like big ass monsters and things, but it's not like the original trailer for Black Desert where it's like Kamehamehas and people doing these giant swiping attacks. So I think, just a little bit more down to earth Black Desert that is a little bit more upfront with the PvP. That would be really fun. I think that'd be really engrossing, and I think I think Crimson Desert is probably gonna be the sort of an answer in a way to Ashes of Creation and the new age of Camelot, or Camelot. Sorry, Camelot Unchained is what it's called, as well as an answer to Crowfall. A lot of people are hungry for this, this open world PvP sort of setting that's immediately in front of us, and it's also really cool that they are, I guess, tacking on a single player, but it doesn't seem tacked on. It seems very legitimate and sincere. And I don't know, it's just really kind of exciting. The production quality that we're seeing with this game. So I want to ask you guys, what do you want to see out of the PvP? What do you want to see out of the PvE? And do you think it's a good or bad design decision to include in an MMO, which is supposed to be online, a single player component? A lot of you guys really enjoyed the video that I did talking about single player MMOs, but most of those don't just separate the two. A lot of them, it's like RuneScape. You can play it very solo. They even have the Iron Man, but you're still in the MMO world, and in some ways, you do kind of ripple affect other players. So what do you guys think about that? I know it's a lot to digest, but overall, I think we can all agree that trailer kind of kicks some ass, and this company historically has done pretty good, maybe not in this direction, but they've just done good in publishing and making a decent quality MMO, which is kind of hard to come by. Anyways, guys, that's going to be it. I'm done talking. Much love. I'll see you in the next one.